She won most talkative in high school, and she has been running her mouth ever since. Welcome to the Lisa Fischer Said podcast with your host, Lisa Fischer.
Okay, the title of this is going to be called, Logan, We're Not Experts, but we talk to the experts, so we feel like we're experts.
There we go.
Not often do I have a friend on my podcast, not just I met you because of social media friend. You and I have got to know each other because we're both crazy. To others, we're perfectly normal to this sect of people. And this sect of people are the people who are outside right now getting vitamin D, who got morning sunlight, who aren't wearing sunscreen. I mean, what are all the things? How did we first bond 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever that was? What was the first thing? Was it on things you put into your body because you might have an illness and to prevent that illness?
You know, I think it actually goes back to Patrick Green when we were getting into more of the health stuff after Lander. He's like, hey, Lisa Fischer's right here. She's local. Y'all need to just see if you can connect.
I think that was it. I think I was interviewing, in fact, Pioneer Woman. And somehow somebody had a connection or wanted to meet. So we met. And for those who don't know, Logan has a market. The genesis of his interest in health started with his son, who's diagnosed with stage 4 Wilms tumor. He's written a book about it. Every bookshelf needs to have it. I think I have 2 copies even. A Father's Heart. Isn't that the name of it? A Father's Heart.
That's it.
So sweet. You'll sob like a baby. But that then got you interested into was he 4 years old at the time?
5.
How can a 5-year-old have stage 4 cancer when, he hadn't smoked a cigarette? He hadn't, been in a smoky bar, what happened? And so you start digging deep, and that was the genesis of, I think, your interest in health. And you were one of the first to start saying that we all say, we've been lied to. I hate to say that, people, but we've been lied to.
It's the truth.
What was it? What was the first thing? Because part of your story is that you weighed 80 pounds more. You were EMT, emergency medical or ambulance driving, life-saving, medical personnel between your little town and Little Rock. I know you said you'd take them sometimes to the big hospitals here.
Oh, yeah.
But you said you were not a picture of health. You were out of breath. You were overweight. Kind of set that scenario up and tell the story forward.
Yeah, so grew up in a small town, rural Arkansas, agrarian community, Atkins, Arkansas, Pickle City. And, we were healthy as kids. We were running around outside barefoot in the sun, playing in creeks all day. And, get older, got into working on the pipeline, was still pretty healthy then, and then got into EMS from there and working 24-hour shifts, 48 hours.
So it's EMS, so it's emergency medical
services. And EMT is emergency medical technician.
Well, couldn't you do that? Didn't you have a T also with your name?
Yeah, that's the technician. Yeah.
The technician. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So got working EMS and working those long shifts and just stress, not sleeping, just it is, part of the job. And health started deteriorating. I got diagnosed with low testosterone when I was like 22, 23. Even got on injection for a while and just saw everybody that I was around in really bad health. It didn't click for me then, just because you're in the moment and you're looking at how you're just trying to help people, really. And that's a whole nother tangent.
Wait a minute. It was kind of a badge of honor, Logan, that you were risking your life and not sleeping to take care of others when, in fact, you're the one who ended up having the health complications because you were ignoring your own symptoms and signs.
Yeah, and for the longest, I did firefighting as well. That was a badge of honor by a lot of the older guys as smoke eaters. Like they just embrace. I smoke. Yeah. I don't need a mask. I don't need a rebreather. We're smoke eaters, and just that. That's a problem. It really is. And so like now I get contacted by all the old friends, and hey, I'm a disaster. What do I do? But just went through that, got into real estate, joined after my grandpa passed away, joined the family at the Me and McGee Market and helped
And
grow
that's for
that.
those who don't know. It's this charming little. We would call it a fruit stand, but it's more than a fruit stand. It's now you've got locally grown and other products that come in, but it's not just fruit. You have locally raised meats.
Yeah,
You have herbs and tinctures and I mean, you name it. If you're looking for health and you want to get a snack or get some food, you've got that too. So it's
yeah,
more than just the little fruit stand because you were just kind of people who got pecans off your grandpa's tree and sold them. Isn't that kind of how it started?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't that
They
crazy?
grandparents they were just started it as like a little hobby, collecting the
Yeah.
pecans and selling them on the side of the road. But when my grandpa got sick and passed away, and this was cancer, esophageal cancer, that moved down here from Russellville, Atkins area. And the business just kept growing, expanding, evolving. Me, my grandmother, mother,
And so what
sister.
year was that?
That would have been 2017,
And when did Lander get diagnosed?
19.
Oh, so you were already in that, had a foot in that world when you got the diagnosis. I'd
Yeah, I
forgotten
was
that.
starting there. I was starting because just the cancer and everything didn't make sense to me on how it was being addressed, and so I moved. I transported, hundreds and hundreds of people to hospice, right, in terminal care. Like this was something that we did regularly, and it's more prevalent than I think people realize, and that end stage is really it's horrible. So to see it from the caregiver side of my grandmother and just the kind of the professional side, it just gave me a different perspective on all that. But I started just trying to take care of myself a little bit better after that, and then boom, Lander was diagnosed, and that was stage 4 Wilm, so that's kidney, and just it's absolute gut punch, right? Like you're sitting there. He came to me one evening. He said, "Dad, my pee's orange," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I went in there, and it was blood. He was peeing blood. So we were trying to go through everything. Maybe he ate blueberries that stained his pee. Maybe he got some dye. I don't know. Trying to rationalize anything possibly could, but it was blood. So get him to Children's. We go through there, and then I remember sitting there. I was actually ordering a pizza on the phone. This was the next day after tests and everything. And I look in the hallway, and through that little rectangular glass, you can see out a little bit. And I saw a whole group of people in white coats, and I thought, oh no! So I just hung up. I didn't even finish the order, and because I knew whatever it was not good. And so they walk in, and then they tell you that hey, there's a huge mass in his abdomen. We don't know much more than that at this point, but we're going to go through tests. We've got to get a CT, do all these things. And so fast forward a little bit, and it was stage 4. It had metastasized to lymph nodes and his chest wall. And I remember sitting there as they lay out this plan of we're going to have surgery to remove the big tumor. We're going to have a radiation regimen. We're going to do this chemo. Here's the 3 chemos that we use for this situation. And I say, okay, all right, well, God's going to do his part. Y'all are going to do yours. I'm going to do mine. So what do I feed him? And my God, oh, it doesn't matter. Just don't lose his weight. And I'm like, what? So that didn't set well with me at all. I was like, I know food
You
matters. Like,
knew instinctively that
yeah,
that was bad advice.
that was it was a insane
It's
advice.
foolish, foolish.
And on top of that, it was always offering some kind of garbage treat, like ice cream or candy bars or popsicles, or it's like all nonstop. It's just like we never let him have any of that. So I just needed to understand what was going to be the most appropriate thing to feed him early on, and that led to just reading. And then you get into the books, the China study, which I
Yeah.
don't agree with at all now, but it was one of the first ones that showed me that, well, there's some sort of a connection.
Okay, so let's go back because you and I know it. What's the name of the book? What was the name of the book? The China Study?
China study, yeah.
Okay. And so it was just looking at was it raw and vegan? diet?
No, the context was basically that this huge study over like 30 plus years in China, and it correlated meat and cancer. And
Right, but it was
yeah,
pushing. I thought raw, but I know it was a
yeah,
vegan diet,
yeah, definitely plant based. All right,
plant based,
definitely.
right?
And so got into that. We altered, completely away from processed, and did go plant based very early on with Lander, and kept reading, got a hold of Stephen Gundry's work, Plant Paradox, started making me question some of these things about plants. Then I got Ken Berry's book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, and then that one just made my head explode because it was so contrary to everything that we were looking. Started joining different cancer groups, whether it was Wilms, it was more alternative type, more focused on diet. I hadn't got into the alternative treatments just yet. But that started when I got Ty and Charlene Bollinger's book, The Truth About Cancer, and started seeing the histories of a lot of these practitioners utilizing alternative therapies. And that just opened up Pandora's box for me in all the stuff that we do now.
Well, you and I interviewed Dr. Tom Seyfried, who's the foremost research, I'd say, icon in maybe the world now, because he's a PhD from Boston College, who his research is on Otto Warburg and the Otto Warburg effect, which is removing glucose and glutamine from your diet because that is a fuel for cancer. And you and I, so that was a couple of years ago, and you continue to do research on things. And because there are two schools of thought still in cancer, and for one thing, anything you hear Logan and I say is not medical advice. We're just two people sitting on a park bench, kicking tires, talking about what's going on in our lives. But where I have been confused is, now that you know what you know, because Chris beat cancer, Chris Wark, he's a Memphis guy who's got an incredible story, but no meat in his diet. And a few others, because glutamine, I'm getting to the punchline, people. Glutamine is in meat, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Oh, yeah, I can tell when you
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you had cancer now, would you eat meat?
Probably go carnivore.
You would. That's a big statement.
Yeah. Now, the whole glutamine piece is nonsense. And then trying to limit it through diet is epic nonsense. It's taken
Because
like
glutamine's an amino acid.
yeah, we make glutamine. Like, I mean,
Okay.
this is an endogenously produced amino acid. It's just asinine to think that we're going to limit it in diet. And so, like, even Seafried, point blank will tell you, you cannot change glutamine through diet. That he's talking specifically about glutamine inhibiting pharmaceuticals, that he does this pulse method. Now, like, Seafried and I don't see things the same way at all either, right? Like, I don't fit in a camp. There is not a camp. I'm not in the allopathic, the functional medicine camp.
Yeah.
I'm not like in anything. I'm like after like the truth and what actually works.
Right.
I think that's really, really important. And so, like, even Seafried is missing unbelievable parts because how science and academia are, they're so siloed that you don't look at other fields. And so, me being uneducated, I don't know which field to look in, right? Like, I didn't know how to apply these things, where to go.
Wait. You have no loyalties that have paid you for 50 years.
No.
So you are truly the most objective person to ask because you're the parent of a cancer survivor.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, the whole glutamine thing to me is absolutely a waste of everybody's time if you're going to look at all that. Where they, especially Seafried, get a lot of it right is the idea of a metabolic disease versus a genetic disease. That is a huge differentiation. Cancer is not genetic. It is an epigenetic issue, and the metabolism is absolutely thrown off. But that is going to be an electromagnetic aspect, and Lisa, we'll get into that as deep as you want. But it's not. It's not even metabolic. It's not eating sugar causes cancer, right? This is where I have a huge differentiation. So last time Seafried and I talked, I said, Tom, what is your thoughts on Gilbert Ling's work that says ATP is not enough to produce all the power to sustain a human body? He's like, well, I don't know what else it would be. So like when we don't understand Gilbert Ling's work, you can't even have a conversation really on cancer.
I don't even know who Gilbert Ling is. Have you left me out of the loop?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I try to keep it written. I try to keep things posted and out there nonstop. But like we are missing the boat, and this is why I try to hammer on that whole easy thing. When I say get sunlight and eat local, seasonal, and natural food, like that's the solution. We don't have to go deep, deep, deep into the science to understand
wait. People are mad because we're not saying and do this, 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 and this.
No, it's really that simple.
And that's what I'm saying. You and I keep going back to that. Well, wait, let me go back to cancer's not genetic, because I just saw the BRCA warriors, the people diagnosed or told they have the genetic component for breast cancer. They're about to storm my front door. And then the people that have colon cancer, that mama had it, grandma had it, daddy had it, they're at your door. What do you say to them?
It's not genetic. It's an epigenetic condition. So where we can have a propensity to have some sort of a issue, it's manifested by the environment, and that's like that shouldn't even be controversial at this point. So we now are looking at the astronauts coming back from being stuck on a space station, and they're going to be a disaster. And why are they going to be a disaster? Because of their environment and the expression of the epigenetics that happened with their environment. And so we are doing the same thing. It's just it's magnified for them being on a space station than it is here, unless we live in like a 5G city and we're bathed with EMFs and all the things.
Which exists too. I mean, that's why Dr. Jack Cruz says, get your butt out of LA, get your butt out of, certain cities. And that also is our environment. So I guess this is where people always come to me, because lately because there is a cancer epidemic. We know that, right? But they're coming to me, and their first thing they tell me is, I'm a healthy eater. And I'm like, well, that's a swinging definition. I mean, I health, what's good health? What does that mean to you? Well, I only eat ice cream on Sundays, All right. But so the first thing, people get real defensive when you start talking about things, because the first thing they go to is, but I'm a healthy eater. Mama was a healthy eater and she still got cancer. But I go, but did Mama smoke? Well, yeah, she smoked for 20 years, but she didn't have lung cancer. And I'm still like, it still sets you up then later. How much sunlight did you get? That's the thing that people think, that I am some voodoo crackpot because I'm outside every day with my shirts rolled up, my pants rolled up. And yes, I know I vitiligo all over my body, but I'm doing it to absorb what I can so that I'm not a statistic. So let's talk about then nutrition and then the sunlight factor. What people tell you all the time, I know, Logan, I'm a healthy eater. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, the guidelines for healthy eating are very easy. And if you're eating something out of a package, you're not healthy either. Whether it says keto, plant-based, gluten-free, whatever label you want on there. Like if local, seasonal, and natural. So if you want to get a strawberry in April in Arkansas, have at it, right? When it's December and it was shipped here from Argentina, it's a complete mismatch, right?
It's a pass,
Lisa, I want to go back a little bit to the genetic piece, because it's a big deal. And there's two things. There's one that we're not going to be able to get into very deep because it'll get you deplatformed. But the other side is the fluorescent light bulbs became extremely prevalent in the 80s. So when we're talking about this health epidemic, it starts with the fluorescence. Not necessarily starts, but it is a massive contributor. So all you have to do is look at a chart that says the mass adoption of fluorescence and look at the disease chart. It lays perfectly together, okay? And now as we get into about, I think it was 2007 when we outlawed incandescents, because incandescents were what gave us our infrared light, okay? So that
and we want infrared?
We absolutely want infrared. That's what even at that solar noon, we're looking at 45-50% infrared from the sun. So it's not even isolated. So that's no tangent. But the infrared source for a lot of people is simply the incandescent light bulb. So that was outlawed and phased out starting about 2007.
Are they back in vogue now that we have different administrations and all that? Or can we have them again?
It should be. It should be.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy knows all this stuff. I mean,
Right.
surely.
Right.
But then it gets way worse as you start putting in LEDs. Okay, so when you go from bad in fluorescent to horrible with LEDs, now look at the disease epidemic that we have. That's directly related, and you can see the adoption up into like 2015. It just starts skyrocketing. So we have that environment. So when we're saying that we eat healthy, well, it doesn't really even matter. You could have a perfect diet. When you live in a garbage environment that is bathed at night in these lights, you're going to have massive issues with a perfect diet, right? Like, so
Yes.
let's go to the space station. Let's say they had the perfect diet. They were absolutely, and they probably did have pretty stinking close. I mean, that was a NASA-derived diet. They have all the science, right?
Out of a
And
tube.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they still had what should have been the, in parentheses, perfect diet. And they're a disaster, right?
Yeah.
Because of the environment. The same thing. We are a disaster in large part for the environment. We also need to throw in that there is an oncovirus that we have all been exposed to, some of us way more than others based on the decisions that we have made that are safe and effective. So that is a massive contributor, and
Does
it's
that mean,
amplified.
does that mean from the jab?
That's exactly what that means.
Wow.
But it didn't start with this one, but the cancer completely changed in 2021.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
we know that. Yeah.
You can look around and just see that the cancer of today is different than it was 20 years ago. There's some similarities there, but as far as the rapid onset, the rapid metastasis, that is completely new in a lot of situations. So when we see a lot of these, well, mama had it, grandma had, brother, sister, aunt, well, you'll have a very similar environment typically, right? And so that can manifest in a very similar way. But when we look at the lack of sunlight and the artificial light toxicity that we have, and then that's the two biggest factors, like without a doubt. Then we start getting into food and the problems with pharmaceuticals and then all these other things. But we have to start with the light first.
The sunlight's right here.
It's not even
the Lion King.
Look at Genesis. Read Genesis. I mean, it laid us out the recipe.
That's right. Yeah. And you live that, just because I know you have 4 children and they're at the market every day and you're homeschooling them and they're barefoot and they're working. And that is the best. Now, your son did go through traditional chemotherapy and radiation. Part of that is the law. And I know I've seen Mavericks try to get around that, but at that time you didn't know that. But the antidote that you're doing every day is that your kids are outside and limiting screen time. Well, let's talk about screen time then. So screen time gives us the blue light, the bad light.
Yep.
Not only does it interrupt our sleep, it sets us up later for cancer, right? I mean, it sounds like an overstatement, but it's not.
No, it absolutely sets you up for cancer, period.
Wow.
That's not even a debate. So, Lisa, the big thing there is such a cascade of events that happen with the lack of sun and the toxicity of the blue light. So when we look at the natural cycle of a day, right, we have a sunrise. This is mostly infrared. That's what it is. That's why the sunrise is pink, orangey sheen.
Okay.
And we transition into UVA. UVA, so infrared stimulates the mitochondria to produce melatonin, to just run more effectively. It's really, really important. So we need to be bathed in this infrared. That's why I was saying that a lot of the only infrared people got were from the incandescents. So then we get into UVA. UVA preps the body to start having melanocytes. This is the cells that produce melanin, okay? It also releases nitric oxide. Okay, this is really important. So we have a epidemic of high blood pressure, right? Well, that just so happens to coincide with the fact that nobody goes out in the sun. Now, the thing with UVA is it has to be focal. It has to directly touch the skin. So if we don't have direct access, we're wearing long sleeves, we're wearing sunglasses, we're wearing hats, we're inside, it's not going to work. So we don't have this release of nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It makes our blood vessels bigger to where blood flows better. It's really, really important. But we need that infrared to prep us for UVA that then preps us for UVB, right? It's almost like God designed this to work, but we don't listen, all right? It's
Shocking.
crazy.
Yeah.
We get into UVB, this is where we hear all the beautiful things about vitamin D, right? And that's a whole nother tangent that I'm not probably in the same camp as most of the functional people, to say the least. But it also is when we produce melanin. And melanin is not just a skin color. It is deep within every part of our body, especially a lot of our really important parts, right? Brain, eyes, heart, reproductive organs, even to the point of our immune system is extremely dependent on melanin. So we produce it in our skin, and then it gets pulled back to where the body needs it. This is a direct relation to the vitiligo story. It's a direct relation to the melanoma story. All of that is interrelated. And now, when we don't have the appropriate transitions, those timing zones, right? Infrared, UVA, UVB, we don't have properly produced melanin. Big deal. Huge deal.
So you're saying if I walked outside at 2 p.m. in a bikini, besides shocking the neighbors, I would shock my system because it wasn't prepared or calloused. My skin
Absolutely.
wasn't calloused. My circadian rhythm wasn't primed to receive it, and I could get a sunburn, and that would set me up for melanoma, not the sun exposure itself.
No, the melanoma doesn't come from the sun. So that's just
but
boy,
it does
cause a sunburn.
Good luck trying to win that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can lay that to rest now. Too, that's just people that don't read the literature that argue that one. And we'll clean that up. But this is what we experience in society now, right? So right now we've had a couple really pretty days, and so let's just say we get up, it's still dark, get to school, still dark. We sit under these garbage lights all day. We get out of school at 3, then we go run at the park. We take our shirt off or whatever. We get a sunburn. Well, of course you do, because you just omitted the entire process that we just went through, right?
I see.
Now,
yeah.
The thing on the melanoma, because this is almost infuriating. There is unbelievable evidence that low vitamin D is almost a perfect match of a precursor to melanoma. Okay, that's one. If UVB causes melanoma, why do we have low vitamin D? Vitamin D is synthesized from UVB, right? It just doesn't make sense. So this is what's actually going on. We have degraded the internal melanin inside of our body, typically our brains. Okay, this is from the blue screens. And a lot of people may not realize this, but your eyes are part of your brain, right? Like, so the direct the direct inlet is your eyes to your brain. So when we destroy melanin in our brain, okay, and internally, the body's trying to get it, because melanin is so unbelievably important at balancing, being part of the energy production system. Okay, huge deal. Probably not the time to go deep into that, but when we don't have it internally, our body's trying to get it. So what happens is we overstimulate melanocytes that are freaking out, trying to figure out how to pull in melanin to the parts that it's missing. Okay, this is why brain metastasis is so common with melanoma. Okay, because the body's sending out these melanocytes, and if you'll notice, most people, probably upwards of 80+%, have these melanomas pop up where the sun has never been. Okay,
that's right. So where the sun don't shine, as we say.
Where the sun don't shine, and so again, this makes no sense, right? And we know that clothing blocks UVB, so there's just nothing about that. You can also look at the relation to like Australia, right? This is where melanoma is absolutely prevalent. Well, they're in the middle of a desert. It's a geopathic stressor. Everybody is essentially Northern European that has moved in there. They were not designed to be in that environment. They wear sunglasses, cover up with sunscreen, and they're what, Fitzpatrick 1, Fitzpatrick 2, and they're just not even trying to condition the body. This goes exactly what I was talking about. You don't experience any of those things. We break down melanin. Now our body's freaking out, trying to get it. Melanoma.
Okay, so those that don't know, Fitzpatrick is the skin scale that 1, my red-haired daughter is a 1. And then my son-in-law, who's African American, might be a 5 because I think South Asians are 6s. I think people of Indian descent, because they have a darker, almost darker, deeper eye color and all that. And it has a lot to do with melanin protection, production. Actually, the higher your Fitzpatrick, the lower your vitamin D. Isn't that interesting? And the lower, so my redheaded kids have probably higher vitamin D. So just so people are going, now who's Fitzpatrick? Did we invite him? Yes, we invited him. The other thing that you're mentioning is, now if we go, this is where genetics is important. And Dr. Alexis Cowan, who is amazing, who I think I drove out there to see you after I interviewed you, because I said, you've got to hear about this in sunlight. Like, it was so fascinating. And she is a genius, PhD from Princeton. And all she does, she works outside on her device, and it gets hot in Jersey, in like shorts and a t-shirt. And she is biracial. So she's probably a Fitzpatrick. I think she says she's Fitzpatrick 3, but she does all this to get more sunlight. Yeah. But in learning, one thing she told me was, she asked me where my parents came from, and if they were of Northern descent. So my mother was a redhead, so Northern Ireland, and then my father was a Russian Jew, so kind of the Ukraine. So it was north of some line, maybe 37 degrees, which is kind of where Little Rock is latitude wise. But that had a lot to do too with how much sun exposure. Am I saying that right? And what your body needs. And that's why you're saying the people who are these Fitzpatrick 1s and 2s probably came from that part of the world, then went someplace where they are closer to the sun, and it hadn't worked out well for them.
No, it hasn't worked out at all. Just compare the Aborigines. They're perfectly made for that environment. They look completely different, right? So that's just a good example. So a big thing of what you're talking about with what Alexis said is the haplotype. So the mitochondrial haplotypes.
Yes.
We need to embrace the cold too. If we're an uncoupled haplotype, the coupled, we don't tolerate the heat as well, which is typically more equatorial.
So wait, if you're do that uncoupling was what you remember Gwyneth Paltrow did. She had a conscious uncoupling. So help me then with haplotypes, where that falls.
Yeah, it talks about the mitochondria. This is just how we from the Northern European have a way of being able to deal with the cold and being able to produce heat. This is going to be an uncoupled system. Whereas a lot that are coupled, they cannot tolerate the cold.
Okay.
Very well.
Yes. And another thing I've learned from you and from her is, because Arkansas, we do have 4 seasons here. I know people are listening all over the world that may not. I'm sorry you live in Maui. It sucks, but it's amazing. But you don't have cold. And she and others say expose your body to kind of extremities, because of the hormetic stressors that is good for your body. Like, that's what we love about intermittent fasting. That's what we love about cold plunges. So it is, even though right now in Arkansas, it's sunny and 75 because it's March, it lasts about 10 minutes and then it's going to be hot as hell, and hotter than hell, because hell's not this humid. We have a really bad few months, and then we have for about 10 minutes fall, and then we have winter. But it's good to expose your body to these things like really cold weather or really hot weather. And that's it. And Dr. Alexis talks about callousing the skin. Because I even said, then how do my red-haired grandchild, who is biracial, so she has dark brown eyes, dark brown eyebrows, but she's as white as can be. And she said she needs to callus her skin. Start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and she won't have a sunburn, which is such news to all of us that we're told, well, if you have a redhead, you have to slather them in sunscreen. So never sunscreen.
Never. No, but it goes back to everything that we just laid out. You've got to be bathed in the infrared first, then in the UVA, and then the UVB. Okay.
So one thing I gave up when I started this deep dive was sunglasses. Don't need them. Don't wear them. It went back to, I don't need them. All those years I wore them, and I couldn't even walk under a 50-watt bulb without being blinded. Well, now Now, the only time is if there's extreme glare from maybe, there's it's a really strong overcast day. I don't look for sunglasses. I actually put my sun visor down in my car and that's it. But that is such a 180 from who I was for years. I have some things written down that I wanted to talk about: sunglasses, sunlight. Okay, let's go over. For those of you not in Arkansas, we have had Logan's been on the forefront of trying to get ivermectin into the hands of people because we've all been buying it illegal. I mean, not illegally. I've been buying it legally. I've just been not following the use as on the package because I am not a horse or whatever it is supposed to take it. But now in Arkansas, has that law been signed? This is the third
Sarah
week of March.
hadn't signed it yet. No.
Okay. So, but we're this close to it being signed ish.
Yep.
And I'm using my finger about an inch apart. Okay. Yeah. So at that point, and again, this is not medical advice, and I know what you've been doing, but what will you tell people that you've been doing? What would you then clearly tell people, comfortably tell people of your 4 kids, what you've been giving them for an anti-parasite like ivermectin?
Yeah, so like the ivermectin to me is, and first of all, it has a lot of efficacy for a very famous virus, right? Like, so that Pierre Corey had an amazing book that he wrote about all of the story early on. So it does have antiviral properties. That's in the literature. It also has antiparasitic.
Right.
Right. It's just, that's not even debatable.
Right. No question.
just read it. Just read the science. Which is always my favorite thing. It's like, you're not scientific. Well, I've read more papers than anybody I've talked to. So
right.
The other aspect is I do think that for parasites, we have a lot of ivermectin resistant parasites. So it's not going to be as effective as
okay.
Well, but that's not why I'm for it. We have study after study after study that shows promise with cancer. Okay. And so this is both with conventional treatments that it makes chemo more effective, right? Like it's a really, really big deal.
Oh.
So the reason I'm such an advocate for it is for people to have access to it that want to use it on their cancer journey. That's the number one reason why I am for it. Because what
your
we're finding is
your choice.
You would think. The oncologists aren't for it. The oncologists will, when they find out somebody's taking it, they'll refuse. Some of them refuse to see them. They'll say there's nothing to support that. I got into it with one of the head of a local oncology department here when she came out and said that, well, there's no science to this. Like, boom, I hit her with all the science and she quit talking to me. But when you are compensated based off of prescribing and using chemotherapy, that incentive dictates outcome, and it's just really disgusting. That model, to me,
you lose objectivity.
Yeah, that has to change. To me, that is one of the most egregious aspects of all this. If you're paid to pick, depends on somebody else receives a pharmaceutical or not. That's insanity. But we know so many stories of people using fenbendazole and ivermectin and having very good outcomes. It's very cheap. It's inexpensive. It has very low to no side effects. The main thing with ivermectin is on these higher doses, because there's a range depending on where you are, and protocols that to be followed, is this peripheral vision loss. That does seem to happen on really high doses to a lot of people. But ivermectin has an 18.5-hour half-life, and so when you stop, that ends. But okay. To me, it's... the same for fenbendazole. Like, both of those should absolutely be able to be purchased by anybody that thinks that that's something that they need to do.
Well, I had a client who went and she got the ivermectin, wherever she chose, but she did call, and the doctor called in the membendazole. And when she drove through the drive-through at the Walgreens in Iowa, it was $54,000.92
for Memben.
And she said, for I guess the membendazole, right? The one that is a prescription that was a little easier on her liver. She ended up doing 5-day fasts and didn't need any more treatment. So, I mean, there are so many things out there that you're just not being told about. And again, Logan nor I get a commission with whatever you do. We just want to make sure you're informed so you can make the choice. And I think the most important thing, Logan, too, that Dr. Jen Simmons, she's the real pretty redhead. She is a breast surgeon, oncological breast surgeon, who doesn't do mammograms. She doesn't think they're effective. She says there are other things. The number one thing she tells people with cancer is wait a few days. This isn't an emergency. You don't have to decide today, because they come in with the starting your chemo Monday, and then by Tuesday,
Yep.
and then she says, stop, go home and research, take a breath, stop and make a decision. And so once that happens, because there's a lot of upsell, we know that with all this, and fear and uncertainty produces us to make decisions we wouldn't have done before. So is there online where people could look at dosing of ivermectin? Okay,
absolutely. William Makis on X is probably at the forefront of putting out some protocols and stuff that are easily available. And it ranges from a half of milligram per kilogram up to 3 milligram per kilogram. So little conversions that have to be done there, but that's ivermectin. Now, one thing that's really important, mebendazole and fenbendazole are different. And fenbendazole, which is the animal version, has much more positive effects than menbendazole, which is this human one. And that is because what we believe is there's a sulfur compound in the fenbendazole that's not in the menben.
All right. Dairy, you still love raw milk. I mean, you stood your ground so much with raw milk that you made the news here because the health department, someone tattled, some Karen tattled, and they came and they poured it out to make it look really official and to really burn you. But what's the stance now on selling raw milk in Arkansas?
So it can be delivered now from the dairy, because that was the big thing. There's just a bunch of nonsense. There's actually Alan Clark just filed another bill, and it's a solid bill. But the current is it can be delivered. The farmer can only produce 500 gallons a month. It's silly. It's still silly. It's just,
why limit somebody's ability to make more money? That's what they do in countries where people don't have freedoms. I mean,
Well, it's all lobbying of the big dairy. I mean, that's all it is.
If someone who was listening and said, "But I can't get raw dairy where I am," is it a good option to do like an A2? Because it doesn't because there are inflammatory things in conventionally raised and the milk that's sold from the grocery store. Are there other milks you would then recommend?
No, I don't think there is another milk. So we do not drink any pasteurized milk or eat any pasteurized cheese, and the reason is way more than the A2. So the A2 is the type of casein protein that's in there, and so there's A1, A2, and through breeding and stuff, it's got altered. And some people absolutely have an issue with the A1, but I think really that's just a marketing ploy by a lot, but it's still pasteurized milk. It just is. And so when we look at the pasteurization process, we're destroying all the enzymes. We're destroying the vitamins. It's just completely changing it. And then we homogenize it, which breaks up all the fat cells that is not a natural way to be digested, and it causes a lot of problems. So like for me, it's a half truth in that dairy causes a lot of problems. Like I think that it's directly related to the ear infection epidemic. 100%. All of the allergies, the mucus, the sinusy stuff, all of that is related, but that's pasteurized milk. And so you can't just lump dairy or lump milk into that because they're just completely different.
Isn't it great to be able to sell products that help people's health, and you're not at home at night going, oh my gosh, I may be getting rich, but I sold them seed oils, and I know you're not getting rich out there. I mean, I know this is not a line of work where you're getting rich. You're doing it because you love people, Logan.
Yeah.
And
we do.
thank
you.
I
mean, it's my big thing is like I post probably more about things that don't even remotely bring me money than that. Like I don't even use our platform for marketing. It's like, hey, I don't actually get paid if you go get in the sun, Lisa. You may not know that, but like
Right.
nobody is coming and writing me a check because you went and got sun, or if
No.
you just go eat local seasonal food. Like I promote
No.
other markets or the idea of supporting small markets and small farmers than I do Me and McGee Market, and because that is the true decentralized way of getting health is live naturally, eat local, seasonal, and natural wherever you are.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up. You do have a big YouTube following, and we'll put all that in the show notes. You interviewed Mel Gibson. He is one quirky son of a gun. What are your thoughts? How could you wrap it up? How
Yeah.
could you kind of summarize what it was like interviewing him?
But Mel is a good dude, and so like we've known Mel for a while prior to the whole Joe Rogan go viral thing. So the reason that we had to get on there is because I didn't want people thinking that they can go to Tractor Supply and get ivermectin and cure cancer, because you can't. There's so much more to it, and that goes back to what we were discussing about the genetic to Seafried's metabolic aspect. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and so. The big reason that we needed to do that was, one of my best friends who you've met is Dr. Petra, and she's unbelievable. If cancer, like she is the go-to. And so we have formed a group where we go through the protocols, all the things that are being applied to people, just an attempt to do everything we can. Well, Mel's two friends, he has done everything, tried to network, connect to get a solution. Now, he is sincerely a good guy with no, he's not trying to get anything other than help his friends. So the whole reason that we did that interview was to tell the whole story and lay it out and lay out kind of the protocols that Petra utilizes they're not just, some sort of a pharmaceutical or treatment. It's this holistic approach. So no, I have so much respect for Mel. I know he's been quirky, but man, he's a good dude in my book.
Good, great. Well, you're doing good work. We've been friends we bonded over health, and we'll continue to rattle some cages and make some people mad, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely, me too. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for listening to the Lisa Fischer Said podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe and download all the episodes and leave a review, won't you? The Lisa Fischer Said podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.
It's Lisa Fischer time.